Hey, what is going on, crypto people? Happy Sunday to each and every one of you. Holy moly, what an exciting time to be an early adopter in this new asset class that is the digital asset space. Listen, this is gonna be a little Sunday chill. I'm gonna rapid fire through some stuff, through some Flare news, a little bit of Ripple XRP news. I'm gonna scream through it. I got like 30 minutes, 35 minutes at the most to hang out with you guys on the Sunday chill session. I appreciate you guys checking in. Do me a favor, hit the like button on the way in. That'd be really, really cool. We always like to have just as many likes as we got viewers in the streams. And by the way, if you happen to be in that 55% or so of people that are hanging out, listening to and watching the CryptoCeej, favor, if you've been enjoying those hangouts, please consider subscribing to the channel. And don't forget to ring that notification bell, baby, so that you know whenever we go live or whenever we upload a video. So listen, I just refreshed CoinGecko. We're going to go over these numbers real quick. And then we're going to hang out a little bit, talk a little bit of Flare. For the love of God, Dark Horse, can you please stop using Chat GPT for your research? That was Hugo. Hugo Filion said that. All right. Hugo Filion said that. So it's a Dark Horse. That's pretty funny. All right, let me share this real quick. Bye, baby. Let me share this real quick here. It's going to do a little rapid fire. What's going on in this market? All right, not much. All right, so according to CoinGecko, the total cryptocurrency market cap is at 2.79 trillion, down about 2% in the last 24 hours. Bitcoin dominance is at 60% or 61%, somewhere along those numbers. Bitcoin is trading at $84,700 approximately again on a 30-day. Bitcoin is up to 0.2%. Ethereum is trading at 1600, is down 15.5%. XRP is down nearly 8%. Dollars at one point, I think not long ago, it was $100 per Solana. It's $131 now, and it's on a 30-day down 1%. Dogecoin is trading at 16%. On a 30-day, it's down 3.8%. So 16 cents Doge and down 3.8% on the 30-day. The beloved SOE is what we got? Where's SOE at? It's trading at $2.31, and on a 30-day, it's down about 3% or so. But that is the market, fam, and the market is doing what the market does. All right, let me see what's going on. Why is it let's get to the stream here. Appreciate you guys checking in again. Happy Sunday. It's a chill day. I wish I could hang out a little bit longer, but something came up and I have to hop off in about 30 minutes. So what's going on, brother Crypto? Happy Sunday to you. What's going on, Vishal? What you got? Is that XOR? SOR is blasting today. Yeah, market, the numbers are doing what it does. The market is just doing what the market does, So yeah, 84,000 for Bitcoin. I'm learning more and more and more that the big band-aid for bleeding the markets or for bleeding markets is definitely owning Bitcoin. That is the band-aid for sure. Cheers, brother. Cheers, Vishal. It's definitely the owning a measured number of Bitcoin is definitely the band-aid, stops the bleeding in the market, bull or bear. It is definitely Bitcoin that does that. I just got to tell you, it definitely is that. Let's rapid fire through some stuff here. Let me see. Where do I want to start? Let's start with this interesting video from Casey Craddock. It's some clips from the Paris Blockchain Week. Shout out to Crypto Eddie for sharing this with the community. Let's take a listen to this. I think this is interesting. It is the bigger picture for sure. Again, I want to see how this trickles down to retail. That is my deal. How is it going to trickle down to retail? They are definitely positioning. The XRP out is definitely well positioned to be a significant player in this new financial system. Make no mistake about that. I just want to see how it trickles down to retail, because I'm not interested in what benefits institutions. I want to know what benefits retail, because institutions have had their way pillaging through, thanks to the likes of Rockefellers and JP Morgan, pillaging through retail. I got an interesting video from a guy from China who said the very same thing, that the United States made a decision to smash the middle class. China didn't make it. The United States made the decision to do it. Who in the United States will make that decision? Right? Anyway, Crypto Eddie put this post out about this. She curated some clips here. U.S., Europe, United States, and Europe. MD Casey Craddock at Ripple in Paris. It's 3 minutes and 54-second curated clip. In this clip, Crypto Eddie says that she, Casey, confirms the Euro stablecoin on the XRP ledger. Bank grade custody was critical, since it is the entry point to an end-to-end solution. For retail, says Crypto Eddie, expect wallet custody competition to heat up big time. Oh yeah, of course. It's got to be non-custodial for sure, and let the better ones win. I don't know if it's going to be gearing. I don't know if it's going to be ox and flow. I don't know, but right now for me, it's definitely my favorites. I would say out of all the wallets we have is Bifrost and Xamin. So let's take a listen here to Casey Craddock. This is again curated clips.
For 8 years now, so it's been quite the journey from convincing banks to partner on a network to send cross-border payments, right through to being able to provide banks and financial institutions end-to-end digital asset infrastructure through payments, through custody, through stablecoin, and through tokenization use cases that we're going to talk about today. I think what's really been interesting from a Ripple perspective, I'm responsible for Europe, and I think what we've seen over the last year, 18 months, 2 years or so is MiCA has really given banks and financial institutions this level of certainty to be able to lean into the blockchain and digital asset space. And so we've seen some really great innovative use cases on the back of that. So we partnered with SocGen Forge, one of the leading banks here in France, firstly around custody, but now more broadly on issuing their Euro CV stablecoin on XRP Ledger. There are many other use cases that we're partnering, our customers are partnering with us on around money market funds and bringing those on chain. And we're actually seeing that trend continue to increase as we start to see more institutional interest in this space. On the Ripple side, we're solving kind of the trap liquidity issue with our cross-border payment product and enabling financial institutions to better service their customers by enabling them to have instant real-time payments through a kind of network of partners that enables to move cash from A to B. Now that could be physical cash, could be stablecoin, could be using XRP, and I think that's a really interesting, use case that we've seen mass adoption over the years from. And then just generally speaking, I think from our perspective, solving that cross-border payment problem was a first step. Doing that and building the infrastructure to be able to do that in a sophisticated way for banks and financial institutions just led us down the path of owning that kind of end-to-end digital asset infrastructure. And so the custody technology was really critical for us to acquire back in 2023, because we know that custody is the entry point. Before you do anything in digital asset, whether you're thinking about tokenization, whether you're thinking about payments or thinking about NFTs or whatever you're thinking, you need to get your custody right. You need bank grade custody. And so that critical piece of infrastructure is something that's now enabling us to partner with banks and financial institutions for them to tokenize, for them to create use cases that maybe we don't want to lean into, but to be able to use our technology to do that I think it's really important, and Adelia and I work, given that we're the largest developer on the XRP ledger. Ripple wants to solve institutional financial use cases, right? But we want to create ecosystems where developers are pushing the boundaries. And I think that's been really interesting to see how these developers or these financial institutions leverage our technology to be able to, I guess, drive the future of financial services forward. User experience. Good user experience means that these, banks, financial institutions, or consumers of these products, they need really good infrastructure to be able to power it. They need the right custodians, they need the right wallet, they need the right compliance tools to be able to really kind of power this on a truly global scale. And I think there are early signs and indications that both of these are in place, but I think we have we do have quite the journey to go in order to be able to really truly create this on a global scale.
Yeah, that's some good points for sure. That I think it's interesting that she mentioned there's, we're pushing a developer ecosystem. So I think that's interesting to say the least. The big picture is still ways away, right? It could be 5, 10 years away to kind of get significant traction. But that's just the way it is. If it's 5, 10 years away, that's what it is. It's going to be interesting to see the developer ecosystem growing. We all know that they have pivoted to, bringing their services and products on chain, and they've pivoted in, from that staunch, balled up fist and, position of not doing any programmability on the XRPL. They've changed it. They've changed that. David Schwartz has changed that. So, but that just happened, which means it's going to be a minute before we're going to see this programmability. But like I said in yesterday's live stream, I believe people, developers, project builders are standing in line and waiting for this programmability. Now, I think they'll get their feet wet with the XRPL EVM to kind of get a litmus test for engagement, activity, community participation, all of that kind of stuff. And I think they're, standing in line, waiting for the programmability on the XRPL because they understand the massive liquidity, they understand the massive XRP army, and what they want to see is, well, is this XRP army about participating, or are they about just hanging on to their XRP and cold storage? I mean, they're going to find out. They're going to find out. And I think they're paying attention to what Flare is doing and has done, and how Flare has got Flare Networks, their liquidity incentive events, their Flare drops, and how they are engaging this community and providing the XRP community, and how they're providing use cases for engagement, right? So people are going to be following that strategy closely to see how Flare Networks tapped into the XRP community, and what did it provide that got the XRP community to actively engage, to purchase the FLR token, to wrap the FLR token, to get Songbird tokens, right? So they're going to look at that. They're going to look at the technology and all of that, different things like that. But they are mainly gauging, in my view, they understand the soundness of the XRPL. But in my view, these projects and dev leads are monitoring the engagement of this community, in my view. What's going on, Pookie Pookie? How are you, my friend? Hope all is well. So that was an interesting take. I did a post on that video as well with the help of Grok. See, yeah, let me share this Flare news real quick. Experience plus independent infrastructure providers are the backbone of Flare. Professional validators, renowned entities, operating validators, while also contributing to data. Yeah, you got at 41, you got all for one. I don't know, bring crypto to real life. Okay. Got Anchor. Anchor were the people that reached out to me about sponsorship way back yonder. Chain-based VA. Interesting. Chain-based staking. Chain-based staking is not just a validator provider. We are your powerful ecosystem booster, right? And then, of course, Google Cloud into the block and North So as well. So independent validators, many have been deeply involved in both Flare staking and FTSO data provision since the network's launch. Yeah. So some involved in putting the staking product together, I guess, or maybe it was just Flare staking. But in any case, there it is there. And what does this say? Independent validators, many have deep involvement with Flare. All right. And 70 plus more entities powering our robust network. Verify and check real-time performance. You can do it there, which is awesome. I think Flare Network is got some game-changing stuff. Here's some people kind of I don't want to say these are BTC maxis, but these are some people who are like in the BTC community realizing that this acquisition from Ripple is a big deal and how it's really positioning the XRPL in a new financial system. So let's take a listen. This is this guy here. I forget his name, but he's a big BTC maxi guy.
Blockbuster acquisition, they acquired Hidden Road, $1.25 billion. So if folks don't know Hidden Road, they process 3 trillion in transactions every year. As a part of this acquisition, Ripple's stablecoin RLUSD will become core collateral across the Hidden Road services. Hidden Road's post-trade activity will move to the XRP ledger, and now Ripple's going to offer custody, financing, and clearing to Hidden Road clients. It's a pretty big deal, it feels like. Ripple already had the army behind it. Felt a little to me like fake it till you make it, but like, did they just make it with this acquisition? I mean, this feels like they have some real institutional power now.
Some real institutional power. So again, positioning the XRPL is going to be awesome, right? It's going to be awesome, but I want to see how it. I don't want to use the words trickle down, but I want to see how it equates to value for the asset XRP. How is that going to work? I still believe it's going to come from developers and other projects building other use cases on the XRPL. I really do. I don't see it being an institution that does $1 trillion in volume. I don't see it because you can take $1 trillion in a transaction and break it up to 10 transactions. It's not a lot of transactions, and you don't need a lot of XRP to do it. We all know that. You don't need a lot of XRP to do hundreds of millions or billions in a transaction. Right? So correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Tell me that you need 1,000 XRP to move $100 million in value. So until that changes, we want to check out the value. We know there's going to be burns, but the burns are per transaction, right? So I think we need an ecosystem on the XRPL very similar to Solana's ecosystem, where they have a DEX aggregator, they have a lending and borrowing platform, they have a staking platform, right? They have 5 or 6 useful products or platforms or dApps in crypto that you and I can use. Flare Networks is building out a very, very similar thing, right? Spark Dex, Kinetic, Enosis Global, Blaze Swap, right? Building out an ecosystem where people can participate. And those ecosystems creates a certain demand for the native asset FLR. That's what I believe we need. And Flare is a prime example. I mean, their volume and TVL is off the charts. It's off the charts right now. And when you consider the small time frame in which that's happened, that's creating demand for the asset. Whether it be part of it is because of liquidity incentive event, I don't care. We want demand for the asset, right? And obviously, we want an awesome blockchain, right? That can do awesome things that can be done quickly and inexpensive. Obviously, that part's a given, right? That part is a given in my view. So, but this is a couple of BTC Maxi guys like, I don't know what that means there. I'm not going to read that comment. That doesn't make any sense. All right. So a couple of things that I wanted to share besides the Ripple and XRP news that I think is important. On a bigger scale, I shared that is guys, do me a favor, hit that like button. That'd be really, really cool if you guys could do that. A lot of times we talk about old money doesn't want you to win, and a lot of people kind of sometimes don't understand that. I used to wear my shirts out when they fit. I would wear those shirts out, and people would not. They would think I was talking about an old person. No, no, no. We're talking about the system, the situation, the system, right? And this is a good post about some of that as well. It's just JP Morgan. This is JP Morgan. According to Ricardo, okay, I'm not saying this. According to Ricardo, this is JP Morgan, owned and sank the Titanic, okay? Sold defective rifles to soldiers, bailed out the United States government twice, betrayed Nikola Tesla and drove him into poverty. Here's the dark story of the man who built the world's first billion-dollar empire. So again, old money, we talk about the Rockefellers and the Morgans again, with the Federal Reserve, creation of that, with the ideas we'll supply you, help you finance this war, but we want this in return. And that the thing they wanted in return was the sacrifice of its people for the benefit of those 5, 6 to 8, families. That's a hard truth, but it's a hard truth. And if you do your homework into Rockefeller, you'll understand as well. All right. So, born into banking royalty, Morgan inherited connections, not cash. His father's advice was simple. Remember, my son, that anyone who is a bear on the future of this country will go broke. Morgan took this to heart by any means necessary, but his start wasn't glamorous. Also, all right. At 20, Morgan began as a clerk at Dunkin'. Okay, awesome. In 1887, 57, America faced financial panic. While banks collapsed, 24-year-old Morgan did something unprecedented. Is this the marketing guy? Yeah, this is the marketing guy here. Oh my God, I forgot this guy's name. He's a genius marketer. Off the tip of my tongue, can't remember his name now. But he was like one of the first marketers and to do videos, live stream, and market online. And I can't remember his name right now. Oh my gosh, I can't remember his name. I hate that. Brunson. Back in the day, it was Russell Brunson. TJ. Golly, I can't remember his name. You guys probably recognize this guy's face. I can't remember his name right now. It's funny he's wearing those glasses when he doesn't need to wear those glasses. I can't remember his name right now. Anyway, hopefully it'll come to me. In 1857, America faced financial panic. While banks collapsed, 24-year-old Morgan did something unprecedented. He called in loans from struggling businesses, then used that cash to buy their competitors at pennies on a dollar. Distressed assets, quote unquote, investing was born. The Civil War rifle scandal in 1861, Morgan bought 5,000 defective rifles for $3.50 each from a military arsenal, then sold them back to the Union Army for $22 each. But when soldiers fired them, the rifles exploded, maiming hundreds. The judge called it immoral, but legal. This is the old money thing. It's just She's got to understand 5, 6, 7, 8 families decided that we got the cash to supply and finance your war thing. I know you're running out of money. In return, just we want that percentage of returns in the banking thing. And then they eventually took over the banking system. It talks about the railroad takeover. Morgan ruthlessly conquered the railroad industry. His method: create artificial price wars by controlling shares as stocks collapse, force competing lines to merge, install his men as directors. So you get the point. That's my old money doesn't want you to win thing. Understanding the history of the Morgans and the Rockefellers and what they did to own and control the financial system. And Rockefeller was one of the smartest minds ever. I mean, like in ever. So here's another thing. The day the money printer was silently nationalized, most people missed it. This is from 589 Bull. But in March of 2020, while the world was distracted by lockdowns and stimulus checks, the United States quietly made one of the most radical economic moves in modern history. The Federal Reserve was absorbed by the US Treasury. Now, of course, us in crypto, we understood that happened because we're in crypto. What about the other 97, 98%? So let that sink in. The private central bank that had dictated US monetary policy for over a century was effectively put under the control of the executive branch. Here's how they did it. The Treasury, under Mnuchin, created special purpose vehicles. These SPVs were used to buy corporate debt, inject liquidity, and stabilize markets. But the kicker, the Fed couldn't operate those vehicles without Treasury funding and approval. Translation: the Fed could no longer act independently. It's a quiet nationalization of the money printer. Why does this matter? Monetary policy is now political strategy. This move gave the sitting president and the Treasury leverage over the financial system, including interest rate dynamics, corporate bailout structures, global liquidity flows. That's the most important one. The global liquidity flows, in my view. It set the stage for a financial reset. With control of the Fed, the U.S. could wind down the debt-based fiat system, replace it with asset-backed digital rails, or even deploy strategic digital assets like XRP under sovereign authority. What did Brad Garlinghouse just recently state in that little interview with Liz Clayman? That there are talks with the United States Treasury with that XRP. Remember the 50 million, it's not going to the SEC. It's not going to the SEC. It's going to the Treasury. And the Treasury is under the executive branch. And there's talks about putting that XRP there. That 50 million that was awarded to the SEC. You understand? Or even deploy strategic digital assets like XRP under sovereign authority. It redefined economic warfare. The United States now had a new weapon, a Fed-controlled treasury with digits. Well, it's a treasury that's a Fed-controlled treasury. All right, I get it. With digital liquidity tools, programmable assets, and global reach. This wasn't just a bailout. It was a power shift from central bankers to state-level operators preparing for something bigger. It explains why the XRP case was dragged out. This is from 589 Bull. I'm not saying that. It explains why the XRP case was dragged out, why digital infrastructure, ISO 20022, and the Ripple dollar stablecoin tokenized treasuries ramped up, and why gold, crypto, and debt markets have entered a new phase. You weren't supposed to notice. But now that you have, everything that comes next makes a lot more sense. You know, the meetings in the current administration, right? I mean, I don't know. There were people there and there were people who were not there. Okay. It You're not bringing in people in from the digital asset space into these meetings for no reason. It's not because they're interested in crypto. It's not because they want to know which wallet they should use to hold assets. You understand? You understand? There's a bigger picture to it all. It's a bigger picture to it all. What's going on, Joe, buddy? How are you, my friend? Joe Buddy says Ripple announced XRPL Apex in Singapore in June. Ripple knows they need more devs. They sure do. They're finally awakened to the fact they need more developers. When I say finally, I'm going to say last couple of years, because you just got to remember, you know, Ripple, the company, has their own set of devs. You know what I mean? Those devs are employees. They're not project builders. They're employees. So what are they doing? They're working for a company. You understand? Right? So all the first ideas and first thoughts and first concepts, who did Ripple turn to? Their own devs. Who says that Ripple's devs are the best, have the best ideas, concepts, you know what I mean? They began to realize some stuff, got the Easy A people involved, the Easy A brothers, educating developers. You know what I mean? You understand? So it's coming, but this is, again, this is new. This pivot is less than 2 years old. So it's going to take some time to get there. Joe says, and good day, CJ, and everyone here from the Caribbean. Good day to you, bro. Pookie's in the building. What's going on, bro? Did you tell Kimes happy birthday? I did not. I forgot to do that. All right, again, I said I can only be like for 30 minutes or so. What's going on with the stream? That's not correct. Okay, there's 32 minutes. So look, I just wanted to kind of let you guys know that, hang out here a little bit and remind you, there's a bigger picture at play for sure. Ripple is definitely positioning the XRPL to be a major player in this new financial system. That is without question. It's going to take some time to do it. And again, it's going to take, in my personal opinion, projects other than Ripple on the XRPL to create demand for the asset. I don't know if Ripple is going to somehow have an institution or so involved in liquidity pools or involved in probably money markets. I could see that, right? Lending and borrowing. I could see them having an institution or so. For example, we ask on the channel all the time, Pookie, who is going to be the Aave on the XRPL? We ask that all the time. Do we not? Right? Who is going to be the Uniswap on the XRPL? Who's going to be the Aave or the compound on compound finance on the XRPL? Who is going to do that? Right? We ask that all the time. So is it going to be an institution or is it going to be a developer who right? Aave is not an institution, but they got institutions lining up to their door to partner with them. Let me say that again. Aave was not built out of an institution. It was a project that built out that platform. And now Aave has institutions clamoring to partner with them. It wasn't the other way around. You understand? I mean, Uniswap is not no institution. Then, right? Everybody's trying to tap into that Uniswap market, though. This is what Ondo Finance is trying to do. Ondo Finance is like, What is Uniswap doing? Billions of dollars? How can we get into that, right? Right? So it's Clearpool. Clearpool's trying to do it as well, right? So just understand that. So that's why I say what I say. And until you can show me a blockchain that's focused on institutions first and won in crypto because they did that, I'm sticking with my premise or thesis that it's going to take devs and projects for the XRPL to go up and to the right of the network adoption curve, not institutions. All right. So Joe Buddy says Ripple invests in some universities. Maybe one of those institutions will think outside of the box and bring something unimagined to our world. Yeah. 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 Exactly. If you want to say that's an institution, like a university, yeah, that could happen. But I'm curious to see again um, that money market. Who's going to be the Ave on the XRPL? Who's gonna be able to do it? It's gonna be interesting to see. Right now, I mean, Doppler Phi is okay. I'm not excited about it. Too many intermediaries involved there, in my view. So, yeah, right now that's kind of how I see it. So it's gonna be interesting to see. All right, fam, I'm gonna wrap it up. I've gone about 35 minutes or so. Appreciate you hanging out on a Sunday. Listen, be safe out there in the streets. Do me a favor and hit that like button on the way out if you didn't get a chance to do so on the way in. And again, if you happen to be in that 55% or so of people that are hanging out, listening to, and watching the CryptoCeej, do me a favor. If you've been enjoying those hangouts, please consider subscribing to the channel. We're on a mad dash to get to 9,000 subs, about 30 or so away, 30 or so subs away from hitting that 9,000 sub mark. And it's going to be a cool change to the channel when we do that. I'm looking forward to upping my interviewing game for sure. Appreciate you guys checking in. Again, happy Sunday to each and every one of you. I'm going to end this live stream like I do all my live streams and remind you guys of this. Old money doesn't want you to win. But that's okay, though, because you and I, we're already winning. And I would ask you to consider this or perhaps ponder the idea or notion of living your life permissionless. I'll talk to you guys soon. See ya. Bye.